Hey. Hi, all to the 2 viewers that are in the stream. Hello. What's up, everybody? The excuse is that I'm running off of 0 hours of sleep. Not even lying. I didn't sleep. I decided to skip sleep because I couldn't fall asleep. So at 11 a.m. I just got up and I just started my day. So that's basically my excuse, more or less. Super, super tired. Damn, it's kind of dead tonight. Kind of dead. There's like nobody here because that's what happened. I guess I started late and that's why that happened. But you know, it's still kind of dead as fuck. I mean, the chat is dead. I've never seen the chat this dead when I started the stream before. Never. I've never seen it. I've never seen a chat this fucking dead when I've started a stream. And y'all can complain, oh, Hans, you were late. You were late. Who gives a fuck if I was late, bitch? Who gives a fuck if I was late? Now, in all seriousness, if not a lot of people show tonight, we're gonna schedule this for tomorrow. We're gonna give it like a few minutes. We're gonna give it like 20 minutes. But if it's a no-show tonight, then we're just gonna wait till tomorrow. No big deal, but we want to save the content, right? We want to save the content. Got a ping again? I guess I can do that. Guess we can go ahead and do that. We've got a lot of content planned tonight. Stop scheduling them? Yeah, I mean, the thing with YouTube is you gotta make a thumbnail, you gotta make a title, and you gotta... See, on Twitch, I can just go live whenever with no title at all. Do whatever the fuck I want, right? Every stream. But every stream has to somehow have a planned topic on YouTube. So that's why I have to schedule them. As you guys can tell, I'm very sleep deprived. You know, yesterday I didn't get sleep. Today I did not get sleep. So as you can tell, this has been a really miserable... It's been really miserable for me, I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, it's just... I can barely do anything. I just sit and I can't get up because I'm so tired. And I can't sleep either, you know? That really sucks. I wish I could be more hype. You know, I wish I could be more hype, more energetic. But, yeah. I guess this is my life, you know? Hopefully I can reset it tonight somehow. You know how poppin' it was you guys remember those like back-to-back lectures I was doing? That was because I was getting sleep. You know, if I get sleep, it's gonna be great. If I don't get sleep, it's not gonna be as great, right? I'm gonna be late and not gonna have as much energy, and it's not gonna be as intelligent and articulate and stuff, you know. So it's always been a problem, and I don't know why it happens. I think I do need melatonin at this point to get some, but yeah. Anyway, today I'm gonna actually be showing you a money trail. Believe it or not, it's kind of controversial now that the left only exists because it's funded by the rich. Apparently, that's a controversial take somehow, right? So today I'm actually going to show you the money trail, and I'm going to show you like which organizations are doing it, which foundations are doing it. Because as I'm going to show you, it caused quite a stir and caused quite a hubbub because I pointed out the left is overwhelmingly funded by billionaires. And the most common response that I've been getting has been this silly cope, which is basically, that's not the real left, Hans. That's a fake left. That's not the real left. Hans, that's not the real left. Which is a bunch of bullshit, obviously, right? Do not sleep at all as your sleep schedules are broken. It's a mix of both, but it's been where I would go to bed at like 3, and then I would not fall asleep until 11 a.m. That is so fucking miserable, man. That is so fucking miserable. That's been like that for the past half a week. I don't know what the fuck that is, man. I'm just laying in bed completely relaxed and I don't sleep. That's fucking insane, isn't it? That is fucking insane. I mean, time passes like that, you know? Yeah. The most charitable interpretation is that people are getting confused with what you're saying. They think you are saying abortion is funded by billionaires, therefore abortion should be opposed or something. Look, before we come to a conclusion about what position to have, I just want to make it clear that these positions are only popular and they're only mainstream because they're supported by the ruling class. Whatever you fucking think about them. That's a fact. There's no grassroots component to it whatsoever. And that is a fact. As soon as we can establish that much, we can start somewhere. But that is like the bare minimum to start with. We have to start with an acknowledgement and a recognition that it's supported by the billionaire class. It only exists and it's only propped up because it's fun. Listen, you guys have to understand something. You know that saying from Mary Poppins? Let's do a Mary Poppins stream. A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. The medicine go down. The medicine go down. See, the American people don't like taking the progressive medicine. They find it alien, they find it repulsive, they find it repugnant, they find it absolutely incompatible with their taste, their way of life, everything, right? So what the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation and the Soros Open Society has to do, and they're not the only ones involved, by the way, but they're the ones that are like the easiest to track and trace. What they do is that they will spend decades and decades pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into progressive causes, if not more, right? To kind of force it down, make the medicine go down where it otherwise would not. That has been the model of progressive social change since the passing of the Civil Rights Act. So since the Civil Rights Act was passed, the progressive social change that has happened in this country has been the American people getting force-fed by these very, let's just be honest, these government-tied Cold War institutions. Because they didn't only do that work here in the United States, they created an entire global network, a shadow government and a shadow civil society spanning academia is one of the biggest ones, right? But you guys have to understand, when I say academia, I don't know if that registers in your fucking head. You know, academia is how people learn shit, right? It's how people like learn what's right and what's wrong and what's true and what's not true, and that's what's happening at the site of academia. So when I say that all this is who funds academia, that matters. That's how people are getting fucking educated on a global level, okay? So it's the CIA that's working with the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and the U.S. government, the State Department, and it's a Cold War instrument to fight the Soviet Union and China, okay? That was their purpose. That was how they originated. It's not just the Congress for Cultural Freedom. If it was just the Congress for Cultural Freedom, that would still be bad, but it's not just that, okay? This shit goes very, very deep, okay? It spans very, very wide, okay? There has not been any grassroots progressive social change at all for many decades. It's all been force-fed down the throats of the American people, which is why you guys never heard the term conspiracy theorist. How many of you guys have heard of the term a conspiracy theorist, right? Many of you have probably heard this term conspiracy theorist. Well, a conspiracy theorist is just someone who wakes up one day and realizes that all of the views that they ever had were somehow artificially forced on them or artificially shaped by others, right? And they weren't natural and they weren't organic whatsoever. The reason conspiracy theories emerge is because they're actually right. The Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the CIA, these bourgeois billionaire philanthropists, the mainstream media, I mean, they all collaborate, the academia, they're all part of one network. And it's fucking true. They do artificially shape public opinion and public perception. They absolutely do that to push their agendas and push their causes. So conspiracy theorists sometimes are like waking up and they're like, we need to return to the 1400s because they realized how much of the modern social change that has happened completely rested on an artificial basis of actual people conspiring to forward these agendas. Conspiracy theorists only exist in proportion to the extent to which there's actually a fucking conspiracy around them. All right? Now, I'm going to keep bringing this up throughout the stream because it is the most common reproach that I have gotten, right? Most common reproach. But the most common reproach that I've gotten is basically it's been something along the lines of like, Hans, those aren't real leftists. Hans, those aren't real leftists. Dude, you're so smart. They're not real leftists, right? Okay, what is a real leftist? And I told one of these people, I will give you $500 if you can come and consistently defend the claim that the left, the American left's existence owes itself to these foundations and these billionaires and these NGOs and the CIA. I will give you $500. You can come on my Discord and just consistently maintain your line of thought. That's all you have to fucking do. Just consistently defend your position. Just be consistent. If you can consistently maintain a claim, I will give you $500. $500 through PayPal.
Good morning, Revolution.
Good morning, Revolution, Tristan. Thank you, man. Thank you so much, Tristan. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Good morning, Revolution. But anyway, I think people need to be cognizant of the fact and be aware of the fact, right, that test me. I need the 500. Okay, please get in my Discord. Just get in my Discord and get in show queue, and we'll take it from there. We'll take it from the top, take it from there. It'll be really fun, right? But today I'm actually going to show you receipts. I'm going to show you the money trail. I'm going to prove to you beyond any threshold of a doubt that the progressive left only exists thanks to the funding and astroturfing and the power that's... See, let me explain something to you guys, right? Oftentimes with the CPUSA and what Marxist Leninists in America and leftists will do is they'll be like, Hans, this abortion stuff, this Black Lives Matter stuff, this LGBT stuff, that comes from the people, Hans. The people are clearly really into this stuff. So they think that the origin of this discourse has its basis in some like authentic popular reality that, you know, they can't be reactionaries with regard to. But when they say the people, they're actually talking about power. And they're talking about the power of these billionaires, these foundations, and these institutions, which are actually feeding the glasses wearers that are coming up with all this shit, right? Though that you have to understand, human beings are like animals in a way, right? I know mankind is not an animal, but what I'm just trying to say here is that it's very easy for human beings to just fall in line when it comes to power. I mean, everybody knows that way. You guys were in elementary school, right? You know how at recess, you know how it works, and you were in middle school, you know how it works. You were in high school, you know how it works. You were in whatever, any social situation. Look at any social. You're in a Discord group, whatever. Sociologically, human beings respect power. We are like sheepish, right? Most human beings are sheepish, and they respect power. Okay. And a lot of times they articulate that submission to powers that be in the terms of like well, this is just what the marginalized people are saying. It comes from marginalized people. In reality, it doesn't come from fucking marginalized people. It comes from like an old white billionaire guy, right? Who's bankrolling the whole fucking thing. And you find all sorts of ways to cope and like, justify your submission to that brutal, violent hierarchy, of billionaire men who actually have the money that feeds you, right? So it's almost like you're not even aware of to what extent you're cucked. You're not even aware of to what extent you're falling in line to powers that be. And that's what I'm saying. They keep strawmanning and be like, are you saying that I'm paid by Soros himself? No, I'm not saying you get paid money. I'm not saying you personally are getting paid to have the opinions that you do. But I am saying that the only reason you have the opinions that you do is because you give them, is because you characterize them with a level of respect that you would not otherwise if they didn't have such a powerful backing. If your opinions didn't have such a powerful confirmation and backing in the mainstream media, in academia, in NGO institutions, and activist networks and circles, and all that kind of stuff, you would not have them. The only reason you have the opinions that you do is because of power. It has nothing to do with marginalized people. It has nothing to do with you being a moral person. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has everything to do with the fact
Good morning,
that you're submitting to power. Thank you so much, Dostoevsky. Appreciate you so much, man. I can guarantee you the fact, right? When it comes to the LGBT shit and all that gender stuff, nobody gives a fuck about that for any organic reason. Now, I do agree there is an element of genuine ideology there. It's not reducible to a conspiracy theory, maybe, but again, there's a lot of ideologies, guys. So why is this specific ideology upheld by leftists or adopted by leftists? Because it's an ideology that has power behind it. It's an ideology that has support behind it. It's an ideology that has confirmation behind it. And that's what I'm trying to fucking get at here. I'm not saying every leftist is funded by Soros. I'm saying the only reason they have that ideology in particular is because that is the ideology that just so happens to have the power behind it. And you want to know what my evidence of that is? And it's the easiest evidence I could ever give. It's a slam dunk. It's irrefutable. You want to know the only evidence I need to support that? The only evidence I need to support that is just by pointing out how a very, very indispensable part of your ideology is the view that all conspiracy theories are fake. It's a very indispensable part of that ideology. It's like you, as a premise, as an a priori premise, you have to begin with this assumption that everything being fed to you is somehow organic. Which means you are admitting that when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're watching MTV and you're watching the mainstream media and you're in academia and all that stuff, you literally are admitting that you believe that this is all just representing a natural flow of logos. It's a natural flux of reason and rationality, and there's no discontinuity defined by power whatsoever. It's just, this is just, oh, the reason CNN tells me this is because it's the truth. The reason MTV tells me this is because it's the truth. The reason the powers that be that I'm sucking the teeth of like a tit from the moment I'm born to when I'm well into adulthood is because it's true. And that anyone who questions that view is a conspiracy theorist. So right off the bat, you are admitting that your ideology, you only have that ideology, let's be very clear, because your environment has given that ideology power. You admit that as well. You just say that the reason your ideology has power is because it's true. But we can both agree that if you didn't grow up with MTV and CNN and all these people telling you this shit, you wouldn't have the ideology that you do. Anyone who deviates from that ideology, I mean, you admit it. You call them conspiracy theorists. You say, oh, these people are just conspiracy theorists. These people, they're not adopting the ideology because they somehow think that, like, what? The elites are, like, pushing an ideology that's antagonistic to the American people? Get out of here. That's a conspiracy theory. So you're admitting that, all this consumption you've had in your life of this ideology, which you endow with so much respect, is primarily experienced by you as just natural and organic as the truth, right? But you're admitting that if you didn't have that, you'd be a conspiracy theorist, and you wouldn't be taking that ideology seriously, or you wouldn't have that ideology, right? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say here? You guys understand what I'm saying here? Just casual anti-Semitism in chat, no big deal. Hey, tourist, you dumb fuck. Hey, tourist, you dumb fuck. Let me just tell you something very clear, okay? When you are operating outside of the mainstream, you are going to get a whole plethora of views and conspiracy theorists that are going to be buzzing around you. If you're a communist party, you're an actual communist, and you're disseminating information among the working class and forming cultural associations with the working class, you're going to get anti-Semites. You're going to get people who believe in reptilians. You're going to get people who believe in this and believe in that. And if you're neurotic about that and you somehow you can't fathom that possibility, you can't be a communist. Now, our responsibility is just to make our position clear, right? We make our position clear, but you can't just be like, oh, this incriminates what you're saying because you have an audience of people who are anti-Semitic, or you have an audience of people who have this problematic view or that problematic view. No, that doesn't fucking incriminate me. Because I make my position clear. Now, if all these other types of people are going to be buzzing around me, that's their right. They're curious about what I have to say. But I don't know where this neuroticism of ideology comes from. I think your neuroticism is what fuels anti-Semitism too. People think like anti-Semitism because people are so paranoid about it. And you don't believe people are paranoid about it? Look at the Corbyn affair in the UK. Look at what happened with fucking Jeremy Corbyn. And just because he took a stance on Israel, everyone called him anti-Semitic. So that's the shit that fuels anti-Semitism, because people start to think, they're like, huh, why is everyone so paranoid about anti-Semitism? That must be because it's true or something, right? But the truth is, right, that people are persuaded by. Sorry, the truth is that people are paranoid about anti-Semitism because they're trying to justify liberal democracy by specifically opposing it to Nazism. They're saying if we don't have liberal democracy, we're going to go back to Nazism and the camps will be back and it'll be Hitler. And that's a Cold War talking point. That's a vestige of the Cold War because they were trying to gaslight people and erase the contribution of the Soviet Union during World War II and make it seem like if we didn't have liberal democracy, we're just going to turn into the Nazis and it'll be another Holocaust, right? But they're trying to erase the fact that communism is also an alternative to liberal democracy. And that's the number one hidden thing in the West, is they don't allow you to know that there's a communist alternative, right? Even the communists here are fake and they're liberals and they're sock dems and democratic socialists. You're never told about this other world of like China and the Soviet Union and even Russia today, where they're not liberals. They don't have liberal cultural views. They're against cosmopolitanism. They're against degeneracy, and they're against all that kind of stuff. And that exists. That's a real thing. But they only want you to think that the two options are Nazism and liberal democracy. And why? Because those are the two options that are compatible with the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. If we have Nazism like Ukraine, the bourgeoisie is still going to be in power. And if we have liberal democracy, the bourgeoisie is still going to be in power. The only political system and the only alternative that actually overthrows the ruling class is communism. So they don't even allow us to fathom the possibility of a communist alternative because it's the one thing that actually overthrows the ruling class. The ruling class would literally rather have. It's not just that the ruling class would rather have Nazism than they would communism. It's even worse than that. The ruling class can't even fathom the possibility of communism. It is literally a transcendental. It is literally beyond it's literally something that's beyond the transcendental horizon for them. And that's why that's why Cold War anti-communism was so Lovecraftian and it was so imaginative, and it was because it's literally a traumatic impossibility for the bourgeoisie and the ruling class. So this is also what the Frankfurt School, by the way, was saying, right? The Frankfurt School was trying to tell us that the two options are democracy and liberation, or fascism. So the communist state, they literally would say this, the communist states, these are just fascism in red fascism. Thank you so much, Hasan. Appreciate you, man.
We've all been psyoped in one way or another, some more than others, and most are stuck in it forever.
Absolutely. Thank you, soldier. Appreciate you. Is the bourgeoisie still in power? Well, I'm using the word loosely because bourgeoisie just means the city dweller, the burgher, right? And the financial aristocracy that exists is an evolution of the bourgeoisie. Absolutely, it's an evolution of the bourgeoisie. So that's what I mean by it. I don't mean to get hung up on words. Give me a second, guys. Give me a sec.
Based.
Thank God for Dugin.
Yo, thank you so much, Trap Suey. Thank you so much, Trap Suey. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you so much. But yeah, overall, that's what I've been trying to say, right? So these people literally believe it's going to be liberal democracy or it's going to be fascism. And they said the Soviet Union was red fascism, communist states were fascist. They were pretty much the same as the Nazis. And even during the Cold War, that's what they said, right? That totalitarianism, it's all the same. Hannah Arendt, Frankfurt School, and all these people who believed in the authoritarian personality and totalitarianism. This is the ideology of American globalism. Jessica, thank you so much for the 10, man. Soldier, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, man. Soldiering on.
Based.
I made Hunter Avallone Ragakeet my debate with him. Common Gorilla W's.
Common W indeed. Common W indeed. Thank you so much, man. Soldier. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is we are dealing with the most psyoped population in the history of mankind. Worse than the Middle Ages. I mean, these people literally think there's a real left in America that's not tied to the billionaires. They think that they have independence. They're like, we're real leftists. Why are you a real leftist? What makes you a real fucking leftist? Tell me, what makes you real compared to the Democrats and the rest? Bernie, so you mean Bernie fucking Sanders who sold out? So what's left of you? Bernie Sanders was a fucking shill, by the way, the whole time. But what makes you different from the Democratic establishment? What basis do you have to be different from the neoliberal left? What differentiates you? Just please clarify that for me. Go ahead and clarify that. Come on, give me a second. Give me a second. I also gotta get some food. Give me a sec. This is a really sad thing, right? But I've offered these people $500 to come on and just be consistent about their position. I'm gonna show you actually right now the origin of this whole thing and what happened and why. So I will be showing you that shortly. Give me a damn second. Give me just a damn second. I'm thinking Wendy's. What do you think? But it's not gonna happen. It just won't happen. There's no way. There's no way.
Based.
Thank you so much.
Eritrea greater than Ethiopia. Glory to a forky. Shrewd and capable leaders who plays Iran and Israel, and funds al-Shabaab to combat Biden in Somalia.
I don't know if I can agree with that, Light of the Twin Lamps. I really like Ethiopia. I'm a big ally to Ethiopia. I like Eritrea as well, but I'm not gonna talk bad about Ethiopia anytime soon, man. I just gotta tell you that much. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna check one thing. Ooh, I got this shit way too late.
Thank
Thank you so much,
Canada
Zola.
from the eco-friendly iglopods that Trudeau is forcing them to live and hang in their maple leaves. Hashtag Make Ontario, Michigan.
What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, man. Alright, I think I know what I'm getting. And it's not really honorable, but it is enough. Actually, fuck that. I'm not getting that. Jesus fucking Christ, you impatient motherfuckers. Give me a second. Give me a damn second, you fucking impatient motherfuckers. Give me a damn fucking second. Okay? You can spare me a damn second? Without fucking getting your panties in a bunch. Hate fucking dude. Alright, I just gotta do this. Then, alright, there we go. There we go. Okay, we're done. Alright, we're done. Okay, we're good now. Alright, now let me actually show you some context. I don't know if I showed this to you. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the German left today as well, right? So check this out. So there's this that I showed to you, right? What do I think about Huey Long? I think he's interesting. This has got to have 4,000 likes. 3,000? Okay. So check this out. This is what I posted yesterday, right? And this is the tip of the iceberg, by the way. This is nowhere even close to the main thrust. But check out what I posted, right? Check this out.
Based. What do you think of Huey Long?
I think he was interesting. I think Huey Long was interesting. Based. Thank you so much, Jan. I appreciate you.
Tonight on Infragear, Ezra starts a war between YouTube and Billy Billy. Henry upsets a gun abolitionist, and Oz touches his bangs.
What the hell is that? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't understand what you're talking about. But, you know, whatever. Isn't it funny how the camera just gets me in the square exactly? Beautiful, right? So anyway, guys, check this out. I posted this. And, you know, I'm basically mocking this idea that the main recipients of the ruling class's funds is the left, right? Because check this out. In 2020, this is the total assets of respective foundations. Now, these are right-wing foundations, and these are left-wing foundations. Now, a lot of people took issue with the left-wing part of the claim, that these are left-wing. So I'm going to premise that, actually, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about what exactly these foundations are funding, what causes are they funding, and whether you can call those causes right-wing or left-wing, right? So, it's going to be fun, right? But a German leftist, By the way, there's only like 5 base German leftists that I know, and they're all in our community on our Discord, right? Alex, the showrunner, one of our mods, but beyond that, they are the worst. German leftists are absolutely the fucking worst. They're literally the worst, right? And I'll show, right? I'll show you. I'll show you exactly what we're dealing with. It's absolutely despicable, absolutely disgusting, and I'll show it to you, right? But thank you so much, Johnny Soldier. I appreciate you, man. Give me a second, guys. Someone's calling me. I don't know why. I'm curious, why did Johnny's donation not go through? Yeah, apparently there's really bad news. Damn, this is fucked up. This is legitimately fucked up, man. This is so fucked up. This is really fucked. This is really fucked. Like, give me a second to sort this out. Guess we're gonna have to settle. Guess we're gonna have to settle, ladies and gentlemen. Guess we're gonna have to settle. Something bad. Something bad. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Alright, we're good. Alright. Back to what I'm saying, right? So a German leftist, I hate these fucking German leftists. I already told you that. What an incredible self-own. What an incredible self-own. What an incredible self-own. What an I don't know what this meant. I don't even know what this means. But you look, it got 3,000 likes. A lot of likes, right? But can someone tell me what this fucking means? Because I've had conflicting like explanations for what this means. So some people have told me that what this actually means is that he's saying that I'm saying, oh, we get more money than you. We get more money. We are bigger prostitutes and conservatives, right? By the way, how is this a self-own? Because I don't have to call myself on the right or on the American left by pointing out an obvious fucking fact that the left gets more fucking money, right? So they immediately personalize it instead of addressing what I said. But then the most popular explanation that I've seen. Thank you so much, Chris Moore.
Hasan cover a new article that dropped today on Philosophical Salon. It's by Gabriel Rockman,
Yeah.
a student of Derrida.
Yes, I am.
The CIA and the Frankfurt School's anti-communism.
I literally have that saved. on the itinerary. So we are actually going to cover that. So don't worry about that. Do not worry about that. We are actually covering that, right? We are actually covering that. So do not worry about that, right? Glad you brought it up. Thank you so much for the 10, Chris Morlock. Appreciate it so much, man. Thank you. But anyway, guys, what an incredible stuff. Basically what they're trying to say is that the left, this is not a real left. This is not a real left that they're funding. They're also right wing. They're both right wing. They're both right wing. You think billionaires can be left wing? Absolutely, I do. By the standards of what you fucking German leftists call left wing and Americans call left wing, absolutely billionaires are left wing. Absolutely. Now, what Russia calls left wing, no. What Venezuela calls left wing, fuck no, right? But what you consider left wing, absolutely billionaires are the most extreme leftists that there are. 1,000%, right? I'm willing to bet any amount of money you want right on that, right? So he claims that, you think billionaires can be left wing. Now keep that in mind. So I said in the comments, I said, for any of the non-bots who like this tweet, I will give you $500 if you can, without contradicting yourself, successfully argue how I'm wrong tonight live. Criteria is just your consistency and whether you can commit to your claims consistently. Easy money, right? So I'm live right now, and anyone who wants to take this offer up should join the Discord now. Let me see.
Based.
Hey, us hope all is well. Camera looks great.
Thank you so much. Here we go. So that's what I said, and the offer's still up for any. I think there was someone here who said they wanted to do that, right? So if there's anyone wants to take this offer up, you have to be an op. You have to sincerely believe it. You can't just be like, oh, I'm trying to get the money, right? You have to actually sincerely believe that I'm wrong about this. And if you can consistently argue your point and commit to your claims, I will give you $500. I will give you $500, okay? Easy money, right? And I think I missed a dono. Farrakhan. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Farrakhan. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you so much. But yeah, I will easily give you $500 if you can do that, right? Easiest money of your life, right? But anyway, this guy is trying to say that this actually is not the left. This is just the right. This is right wing. These are right wing causes. Okay. Let's go down the rabbit hole. All right, so this is the first result that we get on Google. I just Googled it, right? U.S. Foundation funding for LGBTQ issues total $185 million just in 2017. So in 2017 alone, LGBTQ issues received $185 million in funding. And in 2016, it was $202 million, and that was attributed to the Pulse nightclub shooting. Okay, so let's actually see which foundations are funding the LGBT movement. Arcus, $17 million. The Ford Foundation. So we were told that the Ford Foundation was right wing. Why would a right wing organization give the LGBT movement $14 million?
Good morning, Revolution.
Good morning, Revolution, Johnny. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Good morning, Revolution. And thank you for the raid, Jackson. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. But guys, why would the Ford Foundation give $12 million? This is the open side, 7.8. So, okay, I mean, this is just in 2017 for LGBTQ organizations, okay? And this guy's calling them right wing. How could they be right wing if they're funding? Are you saying the LGBT movement is right wing? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying it's pink washing, right? Well, how could it be pink washing if the movement, as you know it, would not have prominence, would not have relevance, and would not have power if it wasn't for the kind of like big money that they get from foundations like this? And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because this isn't even pointing out the media and academia and the role those played for the LGBT movement, right? I can just look this up right now. Wow, I mean, this is the first result. The first result. So in December 2010, the Ford Foundation awards grants for innovative research on youth sexuality. The Ford Foundation announced grants totaling $4.1 million to 6 organizations to design and undertake innovative research on youth sexuality in the United States. And what this means actually is LGBT sexuality, right? How do adolescents think about harassment, bullying relating to gender, sex, sexuality? I mean, this is why the LGBT movement is powerful in this country, guys. We don't get this fucking money, right? Base. Thank you, Tuco.
For the war chest.
Thank you so much, Tuco. Appreciate you, man. War chest, that's exactly it. But guys, we don't get funding for Lysenkoism. We don't get funding for our esoteric fucking Duganism or all the shit that we like. And we don't get any money for that. And that's why our ideas aren't prevalent. They get the fucking money. People can make it their full-time job committing to this movement because of, and this is the tip of the iceberg to the funds as well, is what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, this was from 2010. We are just starting to see the fruit of this research recently with the conservative backlash against how they're trying to push LGBT shit on the kids, right? But in 2010, it was the Ford Foundation that was at the avant-garde of giving $4 million to 6 organizations. I mean, and by the way, that's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, maybe 4 million isn't a lot to some people. It's a hell of a lot. Look how much infrared without any money except from its own viewers. By the way, guys, you are the foundation that funds infrared, by the way. We don't fucking get money from, these NGOs and these institutions and these foundations. We get money from the chat. That's who gives us money, okay? So remember that, guys. You guys are bankrolling this shit. You are the sponsors of this fucking stream, okay? Because we're a fucking army, all right? And I'm not saying I'm not open to taking money. Anybody wants to throw money at the infrared project, throw money, but we keep our independence, right? We're not going to change our tone or our tune for anybody else's agenda. So I'm putting that out there, right? But you know what I mean? We got a war chest that's funded by the community, right? This was from 2010, by the way, guys, before gay marriage was legalized. The Ford Foundation was doing this shit. This is really the tip of the iceberg as far as the Ford Foundation, by the way, because I can show you a lot more. We could just take our pick. Based. Unknown Soldier, thank you so much, man.
What's your take on Peter Thiel? Some say he might be on side in terms of fighting liberalism.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you so much, man. I randomly found this on Google. I randomly found this shit on Google, right? Let's just go through it, right? Okay, look at this money. Look at this. Just look at this. Thank you, Jennifer Eisen.
Communists either need to recruit millionaires and billionaires or become millionaires and billionaires.
That's absolutely true. You're right. Damn, Paperwind. Thank you so much, man.
More funds for the infrared deep state.
Thank you so much, Paperwind. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Sponsors of y'all are the sponsors. Y'all are the funders. Y'all are the shadow cabal that funds this shit. All right? We don't have this. But remember, this is until 2010. So this number has skyrocketed since. I want you to know that. This has skyrocketed since. But we are looking, this has got to add up to like at least $500 million, $500 million over 40 years. That's a lot of fucking money, guys. That's a lot of money, okay? And this is just the shit we know about, right? Look at this shit, man. And the Ford Foundation's right here. The right-wing organization. The Arcus Foundation. We got the Rockefellers in here. No, we don't. We got the Ford Foundation, okay? That's one of the biggest ones, by the way. How LGBT nonprofits and their billionaire patrons are reshaping the world. Check this out. Are today's donor classes solving problems or creating them? Check this out, okay? So take Mark Rothblatt, a humanist, an international gender bill of rights that they want to impose on the whole fucking world. Now, that's not imperialism. Jennifer Pratzker, with his family, one of the wealthiest in the United States, has poured huge sums of money in American institutions in order to advance the concept of bodies. So if you want to know why this specific thing has popped up so much recently, follow the fucking money. Just follow the money.
Here's some funds. Keep up the work, Oz.
Thank you so much, Promethean. Guys, sometimes it's not psychoanalysis. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes all you really have to do is just follow the fucking money.
We all watched your streams on a projector at the CPI conference this weekend. Caleb sends his regards.
Dostoevsky, thank you so much. And I think someone did tell me that while they were watching it. But thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Hope y'all are doing well at the CPI. Shout out to CPI, and good things are coming ahead with that. But if you want to know why the gender issue is like popped off so much recently, because very powerful forces follow the fucking money. They've poured a lot of fucking money in it, okay? John Stryker, he created the Arcus Foundation. You saw that in the thing we saw before. Millions of philanthropic dollars each year for just for gender identity and transgender ideology, by the way, right? Arcus has given over $58.4 million to programs and organizations doing LGBT work just between 2007 and 2010. How much do you think that's increased since 2010? A lot, probably, right? Yeah, it's far more than that now. It's the biggest LGBT funder in the world. This makes George Soros look like pennies on a dime, right? This is where the real fucking money is, okay? So this is just specifically talking, though, about the direct connection between foundations and the LGBT movement. It is not talking about, other forms of philanthropy and other forms of influence through the media. It's not talking about the academic roots whatsoever, which is probably the most important part of this puzzle is academia, right? And this is just about this LGBT issue, because it's just, I Googled it, right? Give me any progressive cause you want. Feminism, the race thing, anything you want. Give me literally any single one of these facets of left-wing ideology, at least left-wing cultural ideology, and I will show you why it's a thing. I will show you why it has entered public significance. A lot of leftists have done this thing where they try to rationalize why the MTV and why the CNN is pushing all this shit. And they're like, well, they're doing this because this is Marxism. It's almost like they're conservatives who actually think it's Marxism, right? Those paranoid John Birch Society conservatives who are like, oh, this is all communist infiltration. It's almost like communists in America. They're all like, yeah, this is because of material reality, because marginalized people and material. No, it's not because of fucking marginalized people. Marginalized people are crackheads on the side of the fucking road, smoking a crack pipe and shitting in their pants.
People need to realize LGBT movement is a tool for transhumanism. Transcend yourself.
Thank you for the 5, Unknown Soldier. Sometimes it seems like that when they're trying to make up 72 genders. It does. And I'm not knocking on transgender people because I don't think that they represent. I think a lot of transgender people just want to conform to the gender they feel they are, right? Which is better than this fucking Judith Butler ideology of there's no such thing as gender, right? Janar, thank you so much for the 5.
They don't follow the money, they follow the discourse. But the discourse follows money.
1000%, man. Guys, I want y'all to start making posters. Make posters, make this into propaganda. They don't follow the money, they follow the discourse, but the discourse follows the money. Repeat that after me. I want to make a sign. The discourse follows the money. The discourse follows the money. We should just religiously repeat that like a fucking mantra. Okay? We should repeat that shit like a fucking religious mantra. They don't follow the money, they follow the discourse, but the discourse follows the money. Absolutely fucking brilliant, okay? Absolutely brilliant. By the way, guys, I have something good for you today because Hasan has started drama with us today, believe it or not. It's kind of sad that he does it when I'm banned on Twitch, but yeah, Hasan started drama with our community, and we're going to cover that after this, right? So again, this is just the stuff that's on the LGBT movement, right? Nothing else. This is documenting, you know, the Arcus. We already know about Arcus. Pat Stryker. Arcus is by far the biggest one in the world, right? But then there's all the look at all of the organizations just created by one billionaire. Look at all the fucking organizations, and you're gonna tell me that is this right wing? Are these right wing organizations? Because they were all created by one billionaire. Are these right-wing organizations, you fucking prostitute piece of shit leftists, trying to fucking tell us that this is just marginalized people? No, marginalized people are homeless crackheads on the side of the fucking road, smoking crack out of a pipe and shitting their pants. Those people have no voice, and they never enter into the public sphere. They never acquire any relevance. The only things and topical agendas and ideologies that actually acquire relevance in this day and age are the things that billionaires support. Okay? It's not marginalized people all coming together and fucking, deciding that they're going to make this a topical issue for the discourse in America. No, it's billionaires like the founder of the Arcus Foundation who supported and advanced every single one of these leftist groups that are pushing the LGBT shit. Every single one of them. And you're telling me this isn't the left? You're telling me, okay, let me get this straight. Would the American left and the Biswell Marxist-Leninists, would they be so sensitive about the LGBT thing and like consider this a progressive movement if it wasn't for the fact that it's billionaires who are progressing it? If it wasn't for these types of organizations that get their fucking money from billionaires, would leftists consider these even like necessary progressive left-wing issues? Let me ask you a different question, right? If we had a left that's had power that was based in the working class, what I mean by that is like, it got its power from the small donations of workers and ordinary people, and that's how it built its power and its skeleton structure. If we had that type of left, do you think they would be so quick to jump on board with the latest progressive agenda? No, they jump on board with the latest progressive agenda because the people feeding them can arbitrarily decide and make... Look, we are just a few years away from a furry billionaire. We're going to have a furry billionaire who's going to be promoting bestiality and shit. And leftists are going to say this is a progressive cause because it's caused such a hubbub. It's caused so much discourse. It's become so topical. This clearly means it's progressive. No, it's things that cause discourse and are topical. Follow the money. Follow the fucking money. It comes from which organizations are getting the power to push this shit. Which organizations are getting the influence and power to be able to spread this shit. And I know there is an aspect of ideology here, and it would be incomplete if you neglected the ideological part of like morally blackmailing people and, the whole kind of way they're like twisting the American puritanical tradition, kind of morally black people, and that's how they decentralize it. But For the
Good
most
morning,
part,
Revolution.
thank you so much, Daniel W. Thank you so much. Good morning, Revolution. Daniel W. Good morning, Revolution. Let me tell you guys something, right? Here's the truth. Here's the damn truth. And I hope you're ready, right? I hope you're ready for the truth. But these types of organizations and these types of groups, they are what attach and anchor people to be fanatics about this. If you're a normal person and you know normal people, are you a normal person who knows normal people? Okay. How many of the people you know are liberals or liberal oriented, right? I know a few. You probably know a few, right? Especially, people you're dating, right? Women tend to be more liberal and leftist. That's just my experience, right? Do you ever notice something weird though? You ever notice how when majority of the time when you talk to these people who are like liberal oriented, who have progressive views about all these things, you ever notice how open-minded they are? They're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. You ever notice how they never like always follow the party line, and sometimes they deviate from the party line, and sometimes they kind of like go off on their own stray, and they kind of like have their own views about things and stuff. And compare that to the people you see on social media. Compare that to the media figures that you see. Compare that to like it seems like the discourse is following a party line, but people in real life don't really follow the party line. People in real life will like be open to all sorts of weird ideas. You ever notice that? Well, I'll explain to you the reason for that. The reason the girl you're dating is not as fanatical as what you see online with the discourse is because the discourse follows the money. The girl you're dating isn't being paid by these fucking billionaires. She's not being paid. She's not earning a living being in these institutions and being in these organizations. So she doesn't have as much skin in the game to give a fuck about it, right? That's why she's open-minded. Now, she originally became a libtard or whatever, right? Because she was intimidated by the vast power behind it. And she was like, okay, I'm going to just follow the trend that I saw on MTV because this is the trendy thing and Kim Kardashian's supporting it and whatever. And that's why she's in it, right? But beyond that, she doesn't have any attachment to it. She doesn't have any innate attachment to the progressive cause on the party line, right? But these people do because it's literally how they're fucking getting paid. They're part of these organizations. This is literally how they live, right? So that's a really big difference. That's a really big difference, right? Let's continue. By the way, we're not even talking about the government connections. We're not even talking about the government connections yet. This is a rabbit hole that goes very deep. Very deep. The connections to the CIA and the State Department and the US government, that adds a whole new layer to this, okay? This is open society. I mean, this, again, tip of the iceberg, right? And the cream of the crop, we're going to move on from the LGBT thing, but the cream of the crop, hold on. I want to show you this one as well. And I want to show you, see, look at this. Now, how do leftists explain shit like this? There's so many ways they cope about it, but like, how do you explain shit like this? Give me a second. Give me a second. Oriental Despot, I don't think that went through. Let me... Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
I remember after the invasion of Iraq when LGBT was considered by most leftists to be an elite-funded distraction to divide the anti-war movement.
And what happened? Money happened. Follow the fucking money. What happened? NGOs and institutions became... Guys, it's not so much a conspiracy theory as it is a pipeline theory. How do the majority of people become leftists? Back during the Iraq War invasion, most people became leftists because they supported and listened to music like Rage Against the Machine, right? And that's their pipeline to becoming leftists. Well, today, the pipeline people have to become leftists is usually from a combination of their consumption of media, probably the biggest factor, but also their affiliation to academic and NGO institutions and organizations and campaigning for the Democrats and things like that. And then when they get radicalized, that's their pipeline to becoming leftists, right? So you just have to think about the pipeline. Like, how are these people becoming leftists? Where are they coming from, right? Literally, where are they coming from? You know how they say, you have to figure out where they're coming from to understand someone, right? Well, figure out where they're coming from to understand why they're leftists, right? Check this out, right? It just keeps getting better. So this is the U.S. State Department, and it's advancing the human rights of LGBTQI plus persons around the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, leftists want to convince us that the State Department is only doing this because LGBT causes are so popular in America that they're trying to pinkwash the LGBT movement. I mean, that is something you could easily dispel with if you just thought about it for 2 seconds. All you'd have to do is think about the fact that LGBT issues were never organically popular in the United States. They were totally astroturfed, and they required tens and tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars actually, of money from billionaires to become acceptable and normalized in this country. It never had an organic basis in America whatsoever. The superficial popularity among young people is entirely artificial. It was something that was shaped rather than something that emerged organically, right? So who is the State Department pandering to? I mean, if you wanted to pander to Americans, you would do what like the demagogues do in other countries like Hungary and Poland, you know, and Putin, because they call Putin a demagogue too, and you would signal against the LGBT movement because the LGBT movement is not popular. The majority of people, it's not suited to their tastes. They just find it something that, you know, they don't want anything to do with. So if you wanted to actually pander and pinkwash anything, you would be anti-LGBT. That would be a more popular position. You know, you can't, you're pinkwashing it to fool and deceive who? To fucking fool and deceive the 5% of people in America who give a fuck about this shit, who live in fucking cities and are detached from the majority of people. Why would the State Department want to deceive those people as opposed to the majority of the U.S. fucking population, right? It just doesn't add up and it doesn't make any sense, right? Now check this out. The Global Equality Fund. They have a Global Equality Fund where they're now basically admitting that this is all follow the money type shit. The Global Equality Fund provides emergency assistance to human rights defenders and human rights organizations, programming support to grassroots LGBTQI organizations to catalyze positive change. I want to explain to you guys, this is not about LGBT. This is not about LGBT, okay? It's not about LGBT because if they decided to fund astrology in the same way that they're funding LGBT, astrology would be the topical thing even more than it is. If they wanted to fund Lysenkoism in the same way that they're funding LGBT, Lysenkoism would be the discursively topical thing. This movement has the power that it does because so much money is being poured into it. And money is the first step to building an institution and building an organization and building pressure groups, because you need people to be able to live off of this shit first and foremost. You need funds in order to disseminate it through media. So these are investments that are not reaping any profit, right? These are investments that they're making and sinking in to shape and influence public opinion, not only in the United States, but around the whole fucking world. Okay? Now, keep in mind, I didn't get into feminism. I didn't get into the Black Lives Matter stuff. I didn't get into any of the other cultural progressive issues that leftists are championing. I did not get into any of that shit, right? All I did was talk. I chose one one topic, which was the LGBT shit. But I promise you, I guarantee to you, every single other thing that is championed by the left, every other thing that defines the left, gets the same amount of support. Even when it comes to economics. You know that Thomas Piketty guy and his Capital in the 21st Century? Yeah, he was invited to Davos because of that book. That's how popular it was by the world's global elite. You know how much people like that get funding from billionaires to come up with ways to kind of, make sure that no one else can get as rich as they are? You know that billionaires actually fund socialistic think tanks and shit like that? You know what the Fabian Society is? The Fabian Society, which was the Democratic Socialist organization from the 1800s, that was founded by the wealthy and rich elite, and to this day continues to be just as powerful, if not way more powerful than it ever was. Literally every aspect of leftism, it only exists because it's funded by these fucking people. Now, in Marx's day, leftism was based on working class movements. What would happen is that you get leaders and you'd get these parties, like the Social Democratic Party when it first formed, and workers would pitch in, a part of their wage, and they'd find ways to make money selling newspapers, doing all that kind of shit, and they'd be able to independently have their own views and push their own agendas, and they wouldn't be answerable to anyone else. They had that independence because they were based on the working class. All of that collapsed, with the new left and the counterculture, where any semblance of working class organization was discarded because these young students, who were the sons and daughters of the rich and the wealthy, decided that working class organizations are too hierarchical and they're too authoritarian and they're too square, right? So we need to just completely detach ourselves from working class organizations, and we kind of just need to go with the flow, man. Go with the flow. And going with the flow basically means going with the flow of money that the billionaires are pumping into the fucking economy to basically realize whatever fucking socio-cultural goals that so much has come to their fucking head, right? So yeah, there's a global equality fund. Oh yeah, we didn't even get into this, right? Just go look at this for yourself. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. And if you want to say this is pinkwashing, motherfucker, you're calling it pinkwashing while you're sitting in fucking, New York or California or some shit. Meanwhile, this is the lifeline of the LGBT movement in other countries. Without this level of support, the LGBT movement in so many other countries would completely collapse. And you know it. You're a fucking liar. This isn't a fucking pinkwashing anything. This is the lifeline of that fucking movement around the world. Small grants, emergency assistance, human rights programming. "69 UN countries criminalize it. 43 countries have experienced a decline. 11 countries are punishable by death. Daniel W."
Leftists are just the left wing of capital.
Even worse. Oh, this is a fucking disaster. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. I can't fucking believe this. It's the simple things that prove to be the hardest, the most impossible. Simple fucking things. It's the simple fucking things. It's just the simple things, man. It's the simple goddamn things. You know what? I'm just gonna get desperate. This bitch. I'm just gonna get desperate and
based.
Capital has a will, a subjective dimension. It steers history to liberate itself from human consciousness. A full consumption of the human self.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. This is a disaster. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I have a solution. Don't worry. I have a solution. All right, we're good. We're good. All right, we're good. Anyway, I mean, yeah, all of this is very transparent. They're not even hiding it. This is not a conspiracy theory. You can cope all you want. I mean, this is just a fact. I mean, finally, this is the last thing I'm going to show you on just this LGBT shit before we move on. But I think this is a LGBT website, and they're even admitting billionaires, not grassroots, shape much of the LGBTQ agenda. They were vastly outnumbered and loosely organized, sometimes subject to discrimination and abuse. Today's movement looks nothing like a band of persecuted outcasts. The rights agenda, note the addition of T, I think these are TERFs or something, has become a powerful, aggressive force in most of American society. Its advocates stand at the top of media, academia, professions, and most importantly, the big business and big philanthropy. Consider the following case. Can you not hear me? Can you actually not hear me? Okay, so that's just on that shit, right? All right, I have more to show you. We're not done, right? So as a primer, oh god, this is great, right? So, all right, yeah, this is beautiful. Okay, so we have more graphs to show you, but before we do that, hold on. So check this out. This is a primer, right, to introduce you some of the arguments. But Tyranny of Experts and NYU economist William Easterly traces the loss of China to the okay. Left-wing founders do plenty of damage too. The Ford Foundation, with $12 billion in assets, recently announced a shift in grant-making focus on inequality. Okay. The Green Revolution of super productive wheat and rice crops, developed by the Rockefeller Foundation funded activist Norman Borlaug, a classic case of unintended consequences, right?
Good morning, Revolution.
Thank you so much. I missed that. I'll see your name in a second. Daniel W, thank you so much for the 10, man. Appreciate you. Ford Foundation is given money to focus on inequality. I mean, this is just a primer to introduce you. I'm just Googling right now, right? All I have to do is I'm just Googling stuff before I show you stuff that I have prepared, right? Ford Foundation, Influence Watch. When the Ford Foundation flowered into an activist, socially conscious philanthropy in the 60s, it sparked a key revolution in the foundation worldview. The idea that foundations were to improve the lot of mankind, building lasting institutions, but by challenging the existing ones, right? So let's look at some of the early activism, right? They inspired the Johnson administration's war on poverty.
For opening eyes and minds.
Thank you so much, Ranchard Shadaloo. Appreciate you so much. Planners that on programs that can be devised, maximum feasible misunderstanding, the gray area program, population control. They collaborated with the Rockefeller Foundation in funding population control programs and lobbying for more money on population control after these programs were taken over by national and international agencies. Ford spent $150 million between 58 and 83, peaking at $25 million in 1969. Environmental Defense Fund, Earth Justice, the Johnny Appleseed of litigation liberalism comes from the Ford Foundation. So, guys, this goes beyond NGOs and organizations. We're also talking about legal precedent. Lawyers that have shaped common law legal precedents in the United States, funded by these guys. Okay? What do you think was the basis of Roe v. Wade? By the way, you think Roe v. Wade, the judges, you don't think the lawyers fighting in those cases were funded by you have a lot of research to do, ladies and gentlemen. School choice, Patman Committee. Since then, I mean, yeah, there's too much. There's too much to even point out, right? They have an inequality mission in 2015 to raise a 6-year effort to raise $100 million for the Black Lives Matter movement. An organization decided to receive grants for groups involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. It wasn't even just George Soros. George Soros alone gave them hundreds of millions. Okay, this is also what they got from the Ford Foundation. Okay? I mean, all of this is a Google search away. You just have to research this, right? Foundation are closely associated with violent activists such as the Southern Vision Alliance. Thank you so much, Rocksoft.
Vietnam recently jailed a glowy environmental activist who was working for foreign NGOs to shut down coal power plants. The entire Western establishment openly threatened Vietnam in the media.
And that's how you can tell there's some baseness left in Vietnam. So good for Vietnam. Glad to hear it. It had ties to the Charlotte uprising. You think those original Black Lives Matter protests were all organic? I'm sorry to tell you they weren't. Guys, it takes money to organize large-scale protests. Whoever tells you that protests are organic and grassroots is full of fucking shit. It takes a lot of money to organize those things and get the word out for them and provide incentives for people to attend them and stuff like that. They are not organic by any capacity. Everyone knows that, right? They've given financial support for the Dream Defenders, a group that practices various forms of disruptive protesting, such as blockading bridges and threatening to incite civil unrest. Southern Coalition for Social Justice. And they supported forced sterilization in India. So they supported eugenics in India as well. But, this is all left-wing, guys. This is all conspiracy theory if you point this out. You're not a real leftist if you point out the truth. This is the left, guys. The Ford Foundation is the left. The historical working class movement, that's not the left. This is the real left, right?
Based. There is no end to the gaslighting they will go to ignore evidence that contradicts the ideology. Transparency is the very thing they are lacking to question the ideology yet believe themselves to be the sole carriers of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jay, for the 20. Appreciate you so much. Look at this. June 2021. This is on their website. Thank you so much, Jay, by the way. Appreciate you so much, man. Ford Foundation commits $420 million to tackle gender inequality around the globe post-COVID-19. So this is a book from the question. So this is a book called "Who Stole Feminism? How Women Have Betrayed Women." Okay, so we're gonna look at these from various pages throughout the book. Have that. We're gonna go. Let's go to page 53. Nationwide feminist campaign to change the curriculum of American academia is receiving support from the highest stratas of education and government. The Ford Foundation recently helped launch a national clearinghouse for curriculum transformation resources at Towson State University in Maryland to give a growing number of transformation consultants in our nation's schools quick access to resources. Let's just keep doing this. Is easy, guys. Easy research. All for the Ford Foundation has been advising the foundation that support for women's studies and transformation work should intensify during this paradoxical period. So this is the feminism part, right? We're getting into how the origins of feminism. People, feminism, that's just women. Women are just rising up and decide. No, this is the Ford Foundation. That's what's giving a voice to this shit and giving power to it. That's where the power of the discourse fucking comes from. It comes from fucking money. It comes from the fucking money of billionaires, okay? Several women-studied luminaries, yada yada yada, found this remark offensive, and a scathing report on the AAC made possible generous funding from the cooperative Ford Foundation. The Fund Improvement for Post-Secondary Information, they deconstructed the offending passage. A feminist analysis of this rhetoric reveals an analogy between knowledge and sexual subjugation, an idea of learning as mastery or control. Look at this talk, decolonial shit, all these fucking people would not have a voice if it wasn't for the generous funding from things like the Ford. I'm not even talking about the Rockefeller Foundation or the Open Society. I'm talking about one of these things. One of these fucking foundations, just one of them. And this one is also tied to the CIA, by the way, directly, because it was a Cold War institution, actually. All right, yeah. Again, right? So she alleges overall that the Ford Foundation, I looked, literally just got this from Wikipedia, from footnotes, right? She alleged that the Ford Foundation funded feminist ideologies that marginalize boys and men. Alleges that Summers, and this person critiques her, but, you know, she's not wrong about the funding, right? She's just critiquing her ideology. These criticisms argue that the Ford Foundation is advancing a liberal agenda. I mean, they really are, though, right? Check this out. This is just Wikipedia, by the way, guys. The foundation is accused of being funded by
Google,
the U.S. government.
Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, and Mercer family, they fund leftist causes too.
Thank you so much, Left is Best. Let me tell you guys the truth, right? I didn't even tell you about the fact that the Rockefeller Foundation and the Ford Foundation are front groups for the U.S. government. And they're funded by the U.S. government. That's something I forgot to mention, by the way. That this is literally funded by the government. The foundation's chairman knowingly employed numerous U.S. intelligence agents, and based on the premise that a relationship with the CIA was inevitable, set up a 3-person committee responsible for dealing with its requests. It supported imperialist efforts by the U.S. during the Cold War. It established an economics course at the Indonesian University, aligning students the 1965 coup that installed Suharto. It was involved in several sensitive covert operations. One of them involved the Fighting Against Inhumanity. Based in West Berlin, the fighting group undertook a range of missions in the East Zone, ranging from intelligence gathering to sabotage. It was funded and controlled by the CIA. In 1950, the U.S. government decided the fighting group needed to bolster legitimacy as a credible independent organization, so the Intelligent International Rescue Committee was recruited to act as its advocate. One component of this project was convincing the Ford Foundation to issue a grant to the fighting group. With the support of Eleanor Roosevelt, the Ford Foundation was persuaded to give the fighting group $150,000. At the time, that's a lot of money. Remember, account for inflation. A press release announced the grant pointed to the assistance given by the fighting group. Okay, this is just, by the way, Kantbot specifically and Edberg, they've done so much work tracing this shit. This is literally the tippiest tip of the iceberg, by the way, right? Okay. Guys, the same Ford Foundation that is supporting the US Cold War against international communism, that's also the same Ford Foundation that is responsible for propelling progressive causes as the staple of whether you're a reactionary or a leftist. So if you reject caring or giving special attention to all this shit that's being pushed by the US government and these various foundations, you're called a reactionary. Because actually, all of these progressive causes, Hans, those emerged organically from marginalized people. Marginalized people rose up and just create. No, this shit came from the top, not from the bottom. And we can just follow the money to prove that. That's all we would have to do is just follow the fucking money, right? Okay, 2020. Let's look at the total donations by various foundations. So this is in millions. In 2020, the Ford Foundation spent nearly $1 billion. The Open Society spent $500 million. The Rockefellers, $175 million. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, $3.8 billion. Okay, comparatively, the Waltons spent $840 million. By the way, these are not all going to right-wing political causes even, right? Whereas all of these are going toward progressive causes, almost all of them, if not all of them, right? The Templetons, 153. The Koch brothers, you know the Koch brothers that they always talk about? The Koch brothers spent 123 million, peanuts in comparison. And the DeVosses spent 27. Okay. Now, let's just look at the foundation donations in 2020 versus the total assets of the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers' total assets is a 702 million, okay? So they spent, I don't know how much, but this is 5.4 billion, so this is, let's just say at least eight times, I think. 7 or 8. Let me actually see. 702. It's so crazy how I did that off the top of my head. Guys, I'm a mathematical fucking genius. I'm literally a mathematical wizard. I'm a fucking genius. I knew it was 8. How did I know it was 8? I don't know. 7 and the 300. I don't know. I knew it was 8. I knew it was 8. Don't fucking question me. It was literally 700 times 8 is like 5,600 or something, right? So it's only like 200 off the mark. I knew it. All right, so this is at least 7 times more, okay? They spent at least 7 times more. So, okay, let me just put this in perspective. Left-wing foundations, progressive foundations, and again, you're going to disagree that they're left-wing and that they're progressive, but they almost exclusively fund, and at the very least, you have to admit, primarily fund organizations and NGOs and institutions that you at the very least would have to admit are progressive or left-wing, right? You know, women's stuff and LGBT stuff and abortion stuff and all that kind of shit. So you're going to, Black Lives Matter, are those right-wing? No, they're not right-wing. They're political and they're left-wing, right? Unless you want to change the meaning of the fucking word. I mean, it's really pathetic you try to, listen, you only get to gatekeep leftism when you have a real, like, working class movement. You don't fucking have that. You just have shit like this. So if you're mad that this is what defines the left for 99% of people, literally go fuck yourself and suck my cock. You don't have any right to gatekeep leftism when you don't have any materially independent basis for your politics. So what right do you have to distance yourself from this when, materially speaking, you are attached to this? You don't have a working class independent movement or something like that, right? But anyway, guys, look. You always hear about the Koch brothers, right? So left-wing foundations, just foundations, right? They spent at least 7 times more than all of the money that the Koch brothers have. All of the wealth that the Koch brothers have. Put that in perspective. All of the wealth that they just have, right? These foundations spent in 2020 alone 7 times more than that. Just in 2020 alone, 7 times more than that. Really put that into perspective. Really put that shit into perspective, okay? Just in 1 year, they spent 7 times more than all of the wealth the Koch brothers have combined. You're gonna tell me right-wingers exist because they're funded by billionaires? Get the fuck out of here, you fucking fraud. What a fucking joke, right? That is so untenable. That is such a ridiculous, clown-like thing to try and sustain. It's absolutely fucking beyond the threshold of fucking dishonest. It's so incredibly ingenuine and false to say that, right? This is a declassified CIA document on the New Left. They're adopting a number of heroes, Marx, Mao, Marcuse. They derive their admiration of socialism, considered to have been distorted in the USSR into an oppressive bureaucratic colossus, a caricature of what Marx intended. In Mao, they admire the revolutionary purity. Obviously, the CIA is not a fan of Mao, right? Herbert Marcuse, German-American philosopher. He's become a critique of industrialism. Moscow, and this is the important part that we're looking for, right? Moscow and Beijing attitudes. Soviet propaganda has condemned Marcuse and his student left, following neither propaganda stance surprising in the view of Marcuse's New Left's condemnation of the Soviet system and the New Left adultation of Mao. The anarchistic goal of the New Left represents become one of the major goals. So this is one of the things that were approved for release. What is this article specifically? This is an excerpt. This is actually an excerpt. Okay, I don't think this is... Yeah, but here they're condemning the New Left. I have to tell you that.
They're actually inverting the truth. The institutional billionaire-funded right is far more socially progressive than the Republican base.
So here the CIA is mainly concerned about the people engaging in political violence, like the Red Army faction, the Red Brigades in Italy. And to be fair, those people were not funded by the CIA. You know, the Red Army faction, those people, they weren't, right? But the counterculture left, that new left, that cultural new left, that does come from the CIA, 100%, right? Thank you so much, Unknown Soldier, right? So they're quoting the Soviet press. They're noting how the Soviets are hostile to the new left, and what they could possibly do about that. This is a report on the Cultural Revolution, right? They're printing this shit. Anti-Chinese propaganda. Let's see. Liberalization in Czechoslovakia. Deep-seated criticisms of Soviet society by its citizens are becoming evident since 1966. Here we go. As for... Give me a second. Sorry. So you could not hear me. I was just reporting that the CIA is talking about the new left in the USSR and how it's subverting the Soviets, right? Subverting the USSR. So things like this, right? Why the CIA loved French New Left philosophy. Analysis begins. The new climate in the intellectual opinion in France, spirit of anti-Marxism and anti-Sovietism, makes it difficult for anyone to mobilize significant opposition to U.S. policies. I mean, there you go. It's pretty direct. A lot of people already know about this. The funding of Foucault and the rest, right? But this was actually the recent thing that Morlock wanted me to share, because it's recent, actually. So check this out. The CIA and the Frankfurt School's anti-communism. Frankfurt School critical theory has, along with French theory, one of the hottest commodities in global theory industry. You know, the forms of critique that currently dominate the academic capitalist world. The early Frankfurt schools compared to later generations that refashioned critical theory as radical liberal or even just blatantly liberal ideology. This point of comparison is setting the bar too low, as in the case when one reduces politics to academic politics. In order to avoid being dupes of history, it is important to recontextualize the Institute of Social Research's work in relation to the international class struggle. One of the most significant features of this context was a desperate attempt on the part of the capitalist ruling class, its state managers, ideologues, to redefine the left. This is what we're getting at, okay? In the words of Cold Warrior CIA agent Thomas Brandon, as compatible. They were trying to create a compatible left. Braden and others have explained in detail one important facet of this struggle consisted in the use of foundation money and agency front groups like the Congress for Cultural Freedom to promote anti-communism and lure leftists into taking positions against actually existing socialism. Horkheimer participated in at least one junket organized by the CCF in Hamburg. Adorno published in the CIA-funded journal Der Monat, the largest review of its kind in Europe and the model for many of the agency's other publications. His articles appeared as well in two other CIA magazines, Encounter and Tempo Presente. He corresponded and collaborated with a CIA operative who was arguably the leading figure in the German anti-communist culture kampf, Melvin Lasky. Lasky told Adorno that he was open to every form of collaboration with the Institute, including publishing their articles and any other declaration as quickly as possible in pages. Adorno took him up on his offer. So, you know, this is the Congress for Cultural Freedom that Caleb always talks about. And this is a really long post. Another emigre from Germany, Brecht, who is not fully unjustified when he critically described the Frankfurt schoolers as prostitutes in their quest for foundation support during their American exile, in order to support the dominant ideology of the oppressive U.S. society. That's what Bertolt Brecht had to say about them. And is highly revealing in this regard that the Institute undertook a massive study. This is how they undermine the American working class movement. And we go, there's a direct line, guys. Remember what I'm saying. There's a direct line between this, see this shit here, and the DSA doing the fingers instead of clapping. Direct line, by the way, right? Look at this. They took a massive study of anti-Semitism in American labor. Why does the American labor movement get crushed and undermined? I don't know. Why did it? By the way, a direct line, guys, between this right here, the study anti-Semitism in the labor movement, things like that. There's a direct connection between that and contemporary leftist criticisms that people who focus on the working class only focus on white cis males, not marginalized people enough. It began with this. And they were Zionists, by the way. So this was a form of Zionism. Because they did support Israel, so that makes them Zionism, right? Began with Zionism. That was the first form of identity politics. First form of identity politics that undermined the working class movement in America, Zionism. Fascism had risen to power with extensive financial backing by the capitalist ruling class, and it was still on the warpath around the world. By identifying communist unions as the most anti-Semitic. So let me explain to you guys the crazy thing here, right? Guys, pay attention. Pay attention to this shit. The members of these unions are, look, when they did their study of anti-Semitism in the labor movement, the Frankfurt schoolers were hired to focus on the purported anti-Semitism of workers rather than the capitalist funders of fascism or the actual Nazis who were fighting a war against the Soviets. They reached the remarkable conclusion the communist-run unions were the worst of all, and that they had fascist tendencies. Guys, you can't make this up. The Frankfurt School was responsible for a study where they came to the conclusion that communist-run unions, which are the most aggressive and powerful unions, right, had the most anti-Semitism and had the most fascist tendencies. The members of these unions are less communist than fascist-minded. They weren't real communists, they're fascists. Does that sound familiar, guys? Isn't that what they say about us and so-called Patsocs, that we're fascists and we're not real communists? Well, the people who started this were people like the Frankfurt School, who looked at the communist-run unions and said, oh, those aren't real communists. Those are more fascist-minded than communist, right? One of the Jewish Labor Committee's leaders, David Dubinsky, had numerous ties, ring a bell, right, to the Central Intelligence Agency, and was involved, along with the likes of CIA operatives Lovestone and Irving Brown, in the company's expansive campaign to take over organized labor and purge it of communists. By identifying communist unions as the most anti-Semitic and even fascist, the Frankfurt School appears to have provided some of the ideological justification for destroying the communist labor movement. So, if you don't know how the Frankfurt School set the precedent for defining fascism, characteristics like discipline, solidarity, loyalty to a cause, loyalty to an idea, this kind of patriarchal, toughness, and this kind of masculine orientation of, of being fighters and being, unapologetic and being not politically correct. All of these like psychological characteristics they would use to create this this measurement called the authoritarian personality. And they would basically judge whether something's more fascist or more anti-Semitic based on whether you had personality characteristics that made you a viable threat to the ruling class and the ruling status quo. So the more you were like Haas, pretty much, back in the day, the more they're going to characterize you as a fascist. But believe it or not, before the Frankfurt School, the precedent for communists everywhere in the world, not just in the United States, is they're more like Haas. People are more like me, right? But then the Frankfurt School comes along and they say, no, those personality characteristics and those aspects of their thinking and their ideology, that's actually fascist. It's not communist. And this is why leftists call us fascists. They call Patsocs fascists because of the legacy of things like the Frankfurt School.
One of the CIA's front magazines was Partisan Review, a Trump publication that was the basis and origin for what would become the neoconservative movement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daniel W. Appreciate it so much, man. So yeah, as you can see here, it's absolutely very clear, and it's abundantly clear that, it wasn't always like this. The left, guys, it wasn't always like this. We're talking about, more than half a century of infiltration and reshaping the left to become more compatible, more domesticated, until they basically pulled the rug under any independent working class movement and any independent communist movement, and therefore any independent left, and basically turned the left into this kind of vehicle, very cynically, for the realization of the aims of the ruling class through foundations, right? So, at this point, there's no more left. By now, the American left is the liberal elites. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that, right? It used to be something more than that, right? But look what happened. We have the Frankfurt School to come and tell us that's fascism, and that's actually anti-Semitism. Some might consider their collaboration with authorities to be justified. The Bureau found no evidence of suspicious behavior, and the officers appeared to be reassured with some of the snitches who were personally close to the Frankfurt scholars. And they explained to them that the critical theorists believe there is no difference between Hitler and Stalin as to purpose and tactics. Indeed, as we will see below, they would have claimed as much in their writings when they had settled in Western Germany and no longer under the direct threat of the FBI surveillance and potential to payment of a deportation. So they were not coerced by the FBI or the US authorities, because when they settled back in West Germany, they were saying the same shit. Okay? Align the East, defend while in the pay of the West. Bunch of fucking prostitutes, right? These are scummy people. Okay, now we're going to get into the Rockefellers, right? One of the epicenters for intellectual war against communism. In the milieu, the KPD was to be banned, and the SPD formally abandoned any connection with Marxism. The depoliticization of the institute was complete. So, Center for Communication Studies received a subsidy grant of $67,000, just that for inflation, by the way, from the Rockefeller Foundation, who worked very closely with U.S. national security, which made up 75% of its annual budget. The Rockefeller Foundation also funded Horkheimer's first return to Germany in 1948. Look at this. Look, U.S. government supported the Institute's move to Germany with the equivalent today of over $1 million, okay? The funds were administered by John McCloy. He was a banker for Big Oil and IG Farben. Remember that IG Farben funded the Nazis, right? And it granted extensive pardons and commutations for Nazi war criminals. So while the Frankfurt School was calling the real left a bunch of anti-Semites and fascists, and they were saying Stalin was no different from Hitler, they were directly collaborating with actual Nazis and actual Hitlerites. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make it up. And then fascism and communism are the same, right? This is the totalitarian ideology of Hannah Arendt and Horkheimer and the rest of them. This is an excellent article, guys. We're not going to be able to go through the whole thing, but I just want to get some highlights, you know? The threat of the East will engulf the foothills of Western Europe.
Where can we find Kant Bot and Edberg's work on this?
Thank you, Orville. I think their podcast, they cover it, right? But thank you so much. Adorno claimed whoever fails to resist it is repeating Chamberlain's appeasement. So now the Eastern hordes of the Asiatic Bolsheviks are going to come destroy Western civilization. Literally a fucking Nazi. He's repeating Nazi talking points. The Cultural Revolution was part of the affirmative tradition he condemned, right? So all this fucking bullshit. There you go. I recommend that article, guys. Excellent article. Big recommend. Wow, thank you so much, Mom Bello. Appreciate you so much, man.
Great stream. So informative.
Thank you so much, Mom Bello, right? So, okay, we're going to take a quick break. When I say a quick break, I actually just mean... that we we're gonna actually transition a little, and this topic's not over. We're gonna keep cataloging and following the money, but this is just an introduction to that. But we are going to cover the Hasan drama, because Hasan actually decided to, you know, start drama with us, and he's kind of basically fucking grifting off of us at this point. So give me a second, and I'm gonna grab some food. I'm just gonna eat, and we'll get to it. So give me a second, guys. We're gonna cover this.
By the way, AOC.
So the relevant part only begins like here. So whoever's doing the timestamps, just include this whole part as me eating, and then only get to the Hasan part when I cover it here.
See, once again, ripping off my fucking quote tweets, dude. I'm sick and tired of this. Okay, I'll tell you what's going on here. Okay, look at that. I retweeted, I retweeted this earlier today. I said, look, it's not Susan Sarandon or Bernie that's the problem. It's woeful negligence of the Democratic Party. They must stop relying on how awful the Republican Party is to campaign and actually do something for once. When I see videos like this, it gives me so much hope. I'm going to show you. And then AOC quote tweeted this as well.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Zoe, talk to me first about why it is you wanted to come out here today, because something that struck me was when you were speaking earlier, and you mentioned your anger because you had received a text message from the Biden campaign. Why is that?
So I received a text message from Joe Biden's campaign yesterday saying that the Supreme Court had overturned Roe versus Wade and that it was my responsibility to then rush $15 to the Democratic National Party. And I thought that was absolutely outrageous because my rights should not be a fundraising point for them or a campaigning point. They have had multiple opportunities to codify Roe into law over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they haven't done it. And if they're going to keep campaigning on this point, they should actually do something about it.
What are you most worried about?
Fucking respect, dude. I want to see the full thing. This is what I've been saying for a very long fucking time. Okay, this is what I've been saying for a very long time. And I love that, like the reality is, like, people feel this way. They feel this way. They see this. They're angry about this. They're apparently part of a cult, unfortunately. Wait, really? What fucking cult? What? Hey, I see a lot of, oh, they are a cult? Hey, I see a lot of friends rise up for a...
So this is Bob Avakian. I'm pretty sure. And yeah. He's gonna talk shit about Bob Avakian's group. But then he's gonna somehow transition that to us.
Abortion rights, they are not friends. They are an anti-trans hate group pyramid scheme led by a white male cult leader. What the fuck? Forced motherhood is female enslavement, illegitimate. Oh, they're fucking RevCom. God damn it, dude. How? How does Bob Avakian pull this shit off, dude? What the fuck? They are cult. They are a fucking cult. God damn it, dude. Okay, so the rise...
Hasan is pretty suspiciously in tune with, like, all the leftist scenes. It's probably because he's being primed by his fucking handler to be like, okay, you have to know about this, you have to know about this. Because what normal person knows about the RCP, right? I first found out about the RCP in 2010. And I was part of the fringe radical left back then, right? It was like, seeing this guy know about them, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird. It's so weird how that leftist shit I was part of in 2010 became this mainstream. And they're talking about Bob Avakian? The fuck?
Rise up for abortion rights is they're not adorning the classic fucking all black attire that they have with, like, the fucking the brochure, the pamphlets they run around with. Anyway, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? What are you gonna do? You want my phone? Okay, go ahead. I'll order myself in a second. Wait, is the same called to work with the pro-lifers to keep trans people out of sports? Oh my god, RevCom. If you've ever attended a protest and you see some of the crustiest motherfuckers on the planet literally trying to subvert the protest and, like, acting like they run the show and immediately being like, it's not enough, what's happening at this protest is not enough, and now this protest is, like, officially a communist protest, revolution now, one of those type beats, those are the RevCom dudes, okay? You can spot them because they look crusty as a motherfucker, okay? Also, the fact that you guys don't know what RevCom is implies that, like, you don't really attend a lot of protests, I think, because goddamn. Rise Up for Abortion Rights is a front group of the Revolutionary Communist Party, also known as RCP or RevCom, which is basically...
Hasan, how many protests do you go to? Are you a fucking professional protester? Like, how many have you been to, dude?
A cult run by Bob Avakian, and is also known for co-opting social justice movements to protest. They're at every fucking protest, bro.
Mm-hmm. The RCP is really famous for co-opting the Ford and Rockefeller Foundation and Soros Open Society Foundation's authentic protests. And they're co-opting it. How dare they? Bob Avakian, is he even a billionaire? What right does he have to do that? He's not even a billionaire. Only people like George Soros get the right to do that, right?
Every protest you go to, nah, chill, that shit don't work. Wait, what do you mean? So, Chairman Bob Avakian is a 60s era radical who in 1975 founded the Revolutionary Communist Party, also known as RCP or RevCom. They're wreckers, a small group of Maoists that managed to survive for decades by embedding, some say parasitically, within nearly every major protest movement of the past 40 years, from the LA race riots to the anti-war movement. Okay, that's a sussy-ass way.
They are mentally ill, but as long as they're triggering the libs and causing destruction to the open society agenda and the CIA fake left agenda, I support what they're doing. Go ahead, RCP. Fuck everything up, man. I think it's hilarious, personally. I just think it's hilarious. It's kind of like when the Austin Red Guards like beat up those DSA people. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. It's funny, you know? They're like these mentally ill, confused people. You guys ever go to like see a protest on the news, and then some mentally ill person shows up, and they're like, Sonic also supports Black Lives, and they're like they make it about their thing. Well, that's what the RCP does. They see all this hubbub and this topical discourse, and they're like, this must be, it's coming from the masses, and they don't even know about like where the money's coming from, right? So they just assume that like it's our task to embed ourselves in these protests and guide the masses to the light. And they don't even realize that those protests are not organic or coming from the masses at all. They have their own agenda, which is why they see you with such hostility. Because you're pretty much there and you're like, dude, why are you co-opting the Ford Foundation agenda? We already have an agenda. We already have an ideological goal and agenda. Like, this is not like an open-ended thing that anyone can just come and guide and lead, right? There's already a clear agenda that's being monopolized here. But they're so confused, like a mentally ill child. They just see all this hubbub outside and on the news, and they're like, we're going to go and bring our red flags. And it's just like the guy who shows the protest, and they're like, furries support Black Lives too. Sonic also supports Black Lives. You know what I'm saying, guys? Someone asked the CPUSA why the Ford Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation are progressive. Why does that represent a progressive popular front? Exactly. Someone just go and ask them that, please. Okay, so I'm going to get to the relevant part. So the timestamp should be here. Just going to get to the relevant part. I think it's around here.
Anytime you see motherfuckers crusty as hell, Larouche movement. The ones are the shit in Los Angeles. That's why I see them regularly at every protest. You got the RevCom boys, and then you got the what's his face? What's the other one? Fucking, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. Those are some of the fun. The fun ones are the RevCom guys, and then the other fun ones are the Larouche boys.
So if you don't know, Hasan has a very strange fixation on Larouche and Larouche, the Schiller Institute, and that whole thing. And he even has this cardboard thing up in the back to like troll Larouche. I don't know, Larouche, because Larouche pointed out the influence of the British on this country. I would love to see Hasan try and refute that, but Hasan kind of is traumatized by me because I proved that he doesn't know anything about Marxism, and it really actually did get to his head. That is measurable. Talked about it and referenced it on stream multiple times, and he came to the conclusion that he's going to explain away infrared, and he's going to explain away this whole like new Marxist-Leninist resurgence as like a disguised form of Laroucheism, right? So that's his like it's almost like the right-wing idea of cultural Marxism, right? It's like, oh, this was actually Larouche. Haas is just like a secret Laroucheite. Larouche is the secret to the whole thing. When, the extent of our connections to the Schiller Institute are transparent. The extent of our appreciation for Larouche's ideas are also transparent. We don't agree with Larouche about everything, but he was actually a pretty smart guy who had a lot of interesting things to say. Yeah, same thing with Dugin, right? They also sometimes they say we're Duginists. Sometimes they just take their pick, right? In reality, we're Marxist-Leninists, pretty orthodox Marxist-Leninists. By Western standards, we're heterodox though, because we don't have that dry dogmatism where we just recite, slogans. We actually try to fill our minds with the treasures of mankind, as Lenin pointed out. So, there's a coherence to our ideology that you can't say it's just Dugin, it's Larouche. No, there's originality here, But Hasan decided to cope his way out of confronting that originality by trying to explain us away by like saying we're just Larouche, we're just that's what we are, we're the Laroucheites, right? So continue, right?
Laroucheites, the Lyndon LaRouche movement. Some of them follow me actually too. I rarely ever talk about them, so I think
I don't know what he's. I think he's talking about me and Jackson. I'm not sure. Like, who's he referencing?
They just think this is like a good area to like maneuver in. Lyndon LaRouche.
I think he's talking about my community, the infrared community, and he's still operating under the idea that we're secretly LaRoucheites. Or maybe he's talking about Pestomine, I mean, we do have LaRouche people in our community. Pestomine is one of the biggest ones, right? But I am not, I'm not a LaRoucheite. I'm a Marxist-Leninist. Just because I agree with Larouche about a lot of stuff, and I appreciate the originality and intelligence of people like Larouche, doesn't mean I agree with them. I'm a follower of them. Right? If you want me to list some things I would probably disagree with Larouche about, there are some things I think about his view of history. I try to have a unique appreciation of the Asiatic mode of production. I don't know. I think Larouche kind of calls that the oligarchical principle. I don't really think I agree with that. There's other stuff, he described during the 80s, he described Soviet Union. I mean, it was kind of justifiable because he was making the connection between Soviet revisionism and international social democracy and Socialist International and stuff, and that was all legitimate. But he did describe, the kind of Russian mother cult in this really visceral way, and I don't really think I agree with it. I think kind of had a disdain for Russian mysticism. Russian mysticism is a huge part of what infrared is, if you couldn't tell already. So that's something I disagree with him about. Also, there's probably stuff in regards to political economy that there's probably going to be disagreements about, right? I just haven't developed those because I haven't done much work on the matter. But overall, I think he did come to an original and real insight and discovery, right? I think he did discover something. So I can appreciate that, right? He is part of the revolutionary American tradition. That's exactly what it is. He is. He's part of the canon, right? If you're an American, Larouche is a guy who, he's not someone you can ignore. He's not someone you can dismiss. You've got to acknowledge he was a pretty mighty thinker, right?
I've talked about Larouche before. Also, another cult leader, pretty much. I believe CPUSA has a lot of Larouche people too in it.
So that's us. He's talking about, now we know what he means by Laroucheites. He's talking about us, right? There's no one else he could be referring to. But in case you didn't know, Larouche was not a cult figure. Hasan's just spreading misinformation. He does that a lot, actually. He was called a cult figure because Larouche was one of those few guys, those few people, who actually built a network and built an organization and built an institution that was not tied, to the billionaire ruling class. So anyone who's going to build an alternative institution that's not part of this establishment network you know, of billionaires and all this fucking money, they're going to be accused of being a cult, right? Even Caleb, they're trying to accuse him of having cultish vibes and shit on Twitter and stuff, right? So it's like anybody who's building an independent organization of any kind that has no connection to the Rockefellers, Ford Foundation, the Soros Open Society, academia, the Democratic Party, and the various institutions in between, they're going to be accused of running a cult because, you know, I feel like Americans kind of think that organizations come out of the sky and out of thin air. So they assume that all these organizations that exist and all these institutions that exist just fell out of the sky one day. When in reality, they came from the fact that there's just so much money being poured into them by the ruling class and by the US government. And when you're trying to build an organization from scratch, you are going to deal with like conflicts between the interest of individuals and the interest of the organization. You have to, right? And that's not a cult. That doesn't mean you're running a cult. It just means you're just building an organization. That's just not the same thing as a group of individuals, right? It's an organization. It's something that individuals have to, you know, have a disciplined relation to. In the same way that when you go to school, when you work for the Democrats, you have a discipline where you're putting them over yourself because you respect them, right? But when it's smaller, on a smaller scale, they're just going to call it a cult. And that's how that kind of thing works.
If I'm not mistaken, like I've seen them, I've seen people sell like Larouche textbooks and stuff at CPUSA, right?
So he's making that up. I can pretty much guarantee you that no one at the CPUSA has been selling Larouche textbooks. The reason he's saying that is because he's trying to avoid admitting that he thinks that the CPUSA is full of Larouche sites because of the proximity between infrared and CPUSA. Now, there's a few things about this, right? The first thing is that I think this is a big W. I think it's a big W that the CPUSA is publicly associated with infrared, and it's known for being an infrared group or an infrared-related group. So I think that's a big W already. If you haven't joined the CPUSA, join it already. Just listen to Hasan. Hasan is saying it's our party, so it's our fucking party. Even Hasan, in front of 35,000 people, Hasan said that this is our party. So join the fucking CPUSA. Even Hasan knows that it's ours, right? Even Hasan knows that CPUSA 2036 is a thing. So anyway, yeah, he first he claims we're Laroucheites, and then he's trying to justify the, oh yeah, I saw them selling Larouche books. No, the CPUSA is not an organization that's going to be selling Larouche books, okay? There's no way you can openly profess even admiration or respect for Larouche in the CPUSA without being kicked out, as far as what I can guess, right? So this is a lie.
I accidentally gave the Larouches my email when I first moved to LA. A lot of Patsocs really into Larouche. Yeah, the patriotic socialism is so fucking stupid.
There you go. That's pretty much the bulk of the drama of what we're talking about. So Hasan calls patriotic socialism pretty stupid, except there's no such thing as patriotic socialism. There's socialist patriotism, which is part of what Marxism-Leninism is and has always been. Now, if Hasan wants to sit here and claim that Marxism-Leninism is fucking stupid, he can try and die on that hill. That's fine. But Hasan, what is your ideology? Demsoc with radical leftist aesthetics? I think you have a retarded ideology, Hasan. I think you have a genuinely mentally retarded and failed ideology that has never succeeded anywhere. Marxism-Leninism has succeeded plenty, right? There was a time when 25% of the world's population was living under Marxist-Leninist patriotic socialist states. The accomplishments of the Soviet Union are innumerable. The most powerful state in the world that is literally reshaping the global economy and by, as a consequence, global politics is China, which is ruled by a Marxist-Leninist party. Okay, so for you to sit here and say stupid shit like patriotic socialism sounds fucking stupid, man. You're basically trying to say that Marxism-Leninism as a whole is stupid because Marxism-Leninism is inherently patriotic and has always been. This is so much so, mind you, that even to this day, the leadership of the CPUSA professes to be patriotic. They say, yeah, we are patriotic. That's literally the default position in the CPUSA. The radlibs who say we shouldn't be patriotic because of indigenous people, they're like a minority. the leadership, the Central Committee of the CPUSA, believes in socialist patriotism. Now, we have gotten the rap of being Patsocs for aesthetic and cultural reasons, because we're Maoists who are drawing from the rural, hinterlands of the American working class, as opposed to the urbanized, glasses-wearing Hasan, coastal elites who spit on this country, spit on the people of this country, and are basically an extension of the synthetic left, the institutional academic NGO media complex. Hasan came from the Young Turks, which is itself funded by billionaires like that Kratzenberg guy or whoever. The progressive network of the Young Turks is now fully in bed, collaborates with the democratic establishment, and likely collaborates with U.S. Intelligence agencies and various foundations and NGOs that are connected to the CIA. So Hasan is coming, he was groomed from that media environment. He came to Twitch. There's a reason people like me get banned from Twitch and people like Hasan stay on Twitch, because he's not a threat to the establishment. He's not a threat to the status quo. I am. And that's why they prop him up. That's why he's the biggest political streamer on Twitch, because he was deliberately propped up by Twitch to be the face of Twitch politics. Okay? This was so much so, if you don't believe me and you think that the establishment are actually just neoliberal, soft leftists, Destiny was a neoliberal soft leftist. Destiny got banned. Destiny got banned because Twitch does not want people like Destiny to be the face of Twitch politics. Twitch, for whatever reason, wants democratic socialists who are aligned with AOC and the progressive movement to be the face of Twitch politics. Okay? There's a reason for that. The reason for that is because the actual elites are what are behind the progressive agenda. The progressive agenda doesn't have a basis in the working class. It has a basis in the avant-garde visions of the ruling capitalist class. The progressive agenda is the agenda of the ruling class. The only reason that the mainstream Democratic Party isn't all progressive is because not all of the mainstream of the Democratic Party can get on board with this agenda, because it actually has constituents to answer to. And these progressive ideas are not popular with the American people. Now, I know people like Hasan are going to oppose me. No, universal health care and Social Security and all these paid benefits, these are overwhelmingly popular policies. But that's not what defines the progressive agenda now, is it? Progressive agenda is a great deal more than that. It's cultural in nature. It's about the environmentalism and degrowth. The reason Democrats can't win in West Virginia is because Joe Manchin, he defends the coal industry, right? And progressives were trying to run in West Virginia. They can't, right? Progressives were trying to go against Joe Manchin because their green policies are not popular with the American working class. So if the Democratic Party were to fully adopt the green agenda, it would lose, right? So that's why you don't have everybody who's on board with it. But that is the ruling class agenda. It's not the ruling class that's getting in the way of the progressive agenda. It's the working class. The working class is the most anti-progressive bulwark in this country, which is why you've seen increasing rhetoric in the past, half a decade about the problem of white males and the problem of, all these rural MAGA supporters and deplorables in the South. Yeah, because this is the working class. Those are all euphemisms for the working class, which is the number one site of resistance against the progressive agenda and the agenda of these forward-thinking progressive billionaires who have this very wide and sweeping agenda of social change to basically consolidate their monopolies and mold America in the vision of a dystopian fucking capitalist hellscape, the World Economic Forum, and the Great Reset, yada, yada, yada. You all know about it, right, in Davos. That's what we're talking about. And Hasan is at the avant-garde of this shit, right? He thinks he's an anti-establishment rebel because he supported Bernie in the primaries. And Bernie seemed like he was positioned against those fake Democrat corporate donors. But, Destiny was right when he pointed this out at the very least. And I'll admit, at this time, I didn't even appreciate that fact as much as I should have in 2020. Although I was leaning there, but I didn't really appreciate it that much. The only obstacle to Bernie's success in 2020 was himself. He was unpopular among the American people, objectively. He wasn't undermined by the establishment at all. He was just not popular among his ideas were not popular among the American people. They weren't. Maybe in 2016 he was undermined by the establishment. I can concede to that. But in 2020, no. He shot himself in the foot. So when Hasan is positioning himself and posturing as this anti-establishment guy who's taking on the rich. He's wrong. The avant-garde progressives, those are the guys that love Bernie, right? Those are the guys, I secretly like Bernie. You can't openly support that shit because it's not popular among the working class. So only the elite of the elite can support this sweeping progressivism of people like Bernie, right? And the historical precedent for that is Fabian socialism. Fabian socialism never disappeared. It's never been more powerful than it is now. And it basically is an elitist, philanthropic socialism that Marx and Engels described in the Communist Manifesto as bourgeois socialism. So Fabian socialism comes from the elites, the most wealthy elite part of our society, Fabian socialism. And it's basically a way to, consolidate the monopolies against any competition. They want to squeeze out and destroy the small business owner and the working class that has, some extra capital that would allow them to, form sites of resistance against the sweeping agenda of the bourgeoisie, culturally and institutionally speaking. And that is the rural people, right? The rural people are more independent because they're less institutionalized, right?
Okay. There's a similar group here in the UK who turn up to climate protests, not culty though, but still trying to hijack movements. You see a lot of that. Yeah. I love patriotic socialists, dude. America totally is gonna be like, oh man, I'm just happy Pat's.
I think he's trying to imply that it's like improbable that, Americans would ever get around to socialism because, look at all the ingrained anti-communism. But this just goes to show what like a superficial, airheaded, like dumb fuck Hasan is. He's never been able to muster any kind of intelligent analysis of anything. He's just the guy who thinks on the surface. He's always been a dumb fuck. Yeah, that's another thing I'll concede to Destiny. Hasan's always been a dumb fuck about almost every issue he's ever opened his mouth about, right? So he talks about patriotic socialism as being improbable because on the surface Americans are anti-communist. He doesn't even think to penetrate the surface of okay, why are they anti-communist? What are some of the things Americans associate with socialism and communism, and why? Maybe Americans wouldn't be so anti-communist, Hasan, if people like you stopped trying to represent what that was. Maybe if more people were maybe if the representatives of socialism were people more like me and less like people you and Bernie and AOC, the working class would be on board with socialism. You ever thought of that, Hasan? You ever thought of the fact that the meaning they're attaching to socialism is out of touch, pampered coastal elites who have absolutely no grasp or understanding of what the working class actually cares about, of how to talk to the working class, of how to gain their trust? They rightfully don't have your trust because they can clearly see that you're attached to the same establishment institutions and the same donor, the same big money, right, that's positioned against them and their class interests. And they clearly see that just in terms of your language, just in terms of your discourse, just in terms of your political correctness and your cultural posturing. And, you're kind of metro, airy-fairy LA fucking detached posturing and stance, right? Oh, you're just some kind of fucking guy who's in the know. And if only everyone was as wise as Hasan, if only everybody was as attuned as Hasan is. The working class in America, they're just stupid. They're a bunch of hogs and chuds because they're not able to be as smart as Hasan is and arrive at the brilliant, enlightened insight of true socialism, right? That's what they expect us to believe. It's a crock of shit, right? Hasan, you have no one to blame for the unpopularity of socialism than yourself. It's people like you that make it unpopular. There's nothing inherently about this country that is anti-communist or anti-socialist. There's nothing inherent to the American working class that makes them negatively disposed to socialism and communism. It's the fact that socialists and communists are not even in tune with their own country that makes them unpopular. You're this globalist, elitist, coastal elitist, right? You're not even American. You're not in tune with the roots of this country, with the people of this country. You're not a part of this country. Why would socialism or communism that is foreign to this country and foreign to this country's traditions, why would a presentation of that ideology that is foreign to this land ever gain popularity here? There's a reason why Marxism-Leninism says socialist in content, national in form. There's a reason why socialist patriotism is an indispensable facet and tenet of Marxist-Leninist ideology. Because Marxist-Leninists know that you will never be able to win in a country when you're acting like you're foreign to that country, when you're acting like you don't belong to that country and you're not a part of that country. You have to make your socialism based on the country you live in. It's a basic part of Marxism-Leninism, right?
Patsocs no longer call themselves MLs because they've never read a book? No.
Yeah, that's completely made up. We don't even call ourselves Patsocs. We're just Marxist-Leninists. You called us Patsocs, and you made that label up. We have nothing to do with it. We're just Marxist-Leninists. You decided to wake up one day and distinguish us by calling us Patsocs because you know we're not part of your Ford Foundation, Soros, and Rockefeller Foundation left. We're not part of your fake left, your synthetic left. So you decided to create a title of exclusion called patriotic socialism. And now you're trying to lie and say that we don't call ourselves Marxist-Leninists and that we call ourselves patriotic socialists instead. You're living in a world of your own delusion where you just make things up to cope with reality better. There's not a single fucking thing that any of you guys say about us that's based in and has even a grain of truth in it. Every single thing you use to cope with your worldview and your ideology and the way we're kind of disturbing that and shaking that, the way you've coped with that thus far has been entirely reliant upon a web of lies. And these lies only serve to help you cope with this idea that, oh no, my worldview isn't all wrong. It's the Patsocs. They're ridiculous. They don't even call themselves Marxist-Leninists anymore. Oh, they're fascists. Oh, at this point, this and that. I mean, you do all this shit, right? Because it is really traumatic for you to confront the fact that your entire worldview is a crock of shit. That is so traumatic for you. That is so impossible for you to fathom. That you just have to make up lies about us, right? That's your way of coping with the world.
No, brother, they've only read the book, which is the Bible, and also the Constitution. And you're just fucking too stupid to understand it.
See, this is what I'm talking about. So you claim to be an American, Hasan, and you claim to want to bring socialism to America, but you've just disrespected one of the two, most sacred things in the heart of Americans and in the heart of the American working class. You've disrespected their Bible and you've disrespected our Constitution. You literally are complaining about how stupid they are, that, oh, why aren't they on board with socialism? You just disrespected two of the most important things to Americans as far as sources of legitimacy and meaning is concerned. Now, you may think the Bible is fucking stupid. Good luck with that. The Bible has more wisdom and truth in it than any of the bullshit garbage from academia that forms the basis and worldview of your ideology. The Bible is the foundation of meaning in America. All meaning in America is derivative from that literary text, which is literally revelation. It represents an encounter with the way in which the word is formed, the way in which meaning is itself formed. All literature, all poetry, all art ultimately is derivative from religion. Everyone knows that, right? Marx recognized that. Marx said that explicitly, by the way. So Marx had a respect and appreciation for the Bible that you seem like you don't, right? The Bible, when people came to this country, guys, and they weren't literate and they weren't educated, the Bible was all they had. That was what they would memorize and recite in their head, orally often, because a lot of people couldn't even read, right? And the Bible was the bedrock of meaning. It was a bedrock of meaning in an island of uncertainty, confusion, and chaos. That was the Bible for Americans. It is the solid rock and foundation of this country. Yes, it is. Objectively, it is. I know we have a separation of church and state, but in terms of the civil society that formed America, the people that formed America, people came here only with their Bible. They knew nothing else. They understood nothing else. That was it. Everything that came after was derivative from that. It's same thing is true for the European Enlightenment during the Middle Ages. After the Middle Ages, where all normal peasant people had was their fucking Bible. That's how they made sense of their world and made sense of their reality. And that, to an extent, that is still true. So again, you're disrespecting the Bible and then complaining about why your socialism isn't popular in America. Maybe it's because you're an arrogant fuck who thinks you're smarter than people for valuing the Bible when you're not. You're just posturing as more enlightened and more educated. You're a dumb fuck, dude. There's more wisdom in that Bible than probably any book you've read in your fucking life. And you're talking about the Constitution as well. I mean, that is the foundational document of our country and our state. Again, you mock these things, right? And you sit here like some British fucking socialist Fabian fuck, and then bitch and whine and complain about this country's doomed, man. All the hogs and this. You're a dumbass, dude. You're so full of fucking shit.
I wrote my PhD thesis on entryism. We qualify such small groups as sects, but not in the religious sense. How about we enter into the fucking Democratic Party, but not with these guys?
I mean, yeah, he's pretty much being explicit. Like, hey, let's enter the Democratic Party. Otherwise, you're following a cult. So if you don't want to be in a cult, you have to tail behind the Democratic Party. That's why they put Hasan as the face of Twitch, and they ban people like me, by the way, because he sheepsdogged people into the Democratic Party. I create the embryo of alternatives, right? I bring them into the Communist Party with the express purpose of divorcing that party from the Democrats. So again, that's why they ban people like me, and that's why they have Hasan as the face of Twitch. Because he pretends to be this progressive, he pretends to be this leftist. In reality, he's just doing the work of the deep state and the ruling class for free, right? Maybe it's not for free. He's clearly getting paid a lot of money. He's got that mansion in West Hollywood. He's going to brothels often, which got raided for human trafficking, by the way. But that's fine, right?
I was raised by RCP parents. Every birthday I received an Avakian book. Jesus Christ. I went to a protest Friday and there was 100% a RevCom guy, or he was a cop. I don't know. Same difference sometimes. He was trying to fight the crowd because we weren't smashing windows and starting fires. We're in CA. Like, where would that have just... Wouldn't that have just hurt the movement? Yeah. Yeah, you'll see. It's like Black Bloc if Black Bloc was not defensive or directional in an appropriate way in certain instances. Anyway, the problem is like they're the most deranged, right? So the fact that I just talked about them means like, oh my god, my QRTs are gonna fucking light up. They're a lot of them are swerfs and turfs, so there's that too. It's just like that's how it works. Usually, all it takes is like one of these motherfuckers fucking get people. They probably have gotten people from this community. Half the motherfuckers who are like, you're not leftist enough, Hasan. Fuck you. You're fake. Those are the fucking RevCom boys. But yeah, AOC.
I wonder how much of our community they're attributing to the RevComs. I have never interacted with the RCP ever. I don't think. I've never interacted with them ever. I don't think I've ever seen them in my chat. I don't know any. Right?
Sounded the alarm about this for a long time. Some may not want to refuse to use our full power. When they do, we still have to who in the time between the leak and parties.
So this is the last part. It's like right here
that she has talked about also, and I agree. CPOSA is getting back to our ML roots. We don't allow entry as freaks, and we purge them when we find them.
Yeah. The key word is when you find them. You can't allow entry as freaks when you don't know who's entering your party. Okay. Nice cope, dude. Nice cope, but 35,000 people already associate the CPUSA with infrared, thanks to Comrade Hasan here. So, nice cope, and the key word is when you find us. By the way, it is not entirely clear that that's allowed, according to the National Committee, when these clubs are purging people because they find out they watch Haas. So that's going to cause some turmoil in the party. That is not a legitimate basis for a club to purge a member, believe it or not. And I found that out myself. Even though you guys should still practice taqiyya, just don't, because it's not even relevant. Don't bring the infrared up. We're not practicing entryism. We're just saying it's not even relevant. You don't even have to bring infrared up, because unless the National Committee commits to a partnership with the infrared media platform to grow the party, there's no use to talking about infrared. Just focus on doing the work that will make you credible in their eyes. And by next year, we'll have delegates that can actually get people in the National Committee that can forward the serious proposal to have a partnership, or if not a partnership, an integration of infrared into the party somehow. Which would be, this infrared project, it's very dear to me, right? So I would be literally relinquishing infrared to the Communist Party. But that is something I will consider and do as long as, with the right conditions, right? I would do that. I would relinquish infrared to the Communist Party if the party is actually serious about growing and becoming a party of the working class, absolutely, we would be under their authority, right? As infrared. So yeah, still practice the key and stuff. So yeah.
Good luck. Hopefully. Godspeed. That's not what I've seen so far, but maybe I'm wrong. AOC is...
That's not what I've seen so far. Shut the fuck up, bitch. So yeah. Doesn't get any more plain than that. So guys, I want to leave you thinking about something. And the thing I want to leave you with is actually just a question. And that question is actually about me. And it's also about your thoughts on the question. Right? And that question that I wanted to ask you is basically...
I seek music. Goodbye to the people who trust in me. Yeah. Do you think about me? What's up? Did you think about me? 2013. Sick kid. Goodbye to the people who trust in me. Just win. For all the broken hearts that got played. What we gon' do? We gon' say goodbye. Trust in you, movie tickets for two. Girl, I want you, I got you. Spend my life to find you. I was there for you when you needed me the most. But when my time came, you faded out. In the end, I should've known you were just a heartbreak. I'ma call you Medusa, cause you was just a snake.